going on YouTube? Dylan here at TheByesRegret, here with our first place at TCG Locals, Austin Davis. How you doing, Austin?
Doing pretty good. Went 5-0. So this is a handful of our 5-rounders now. I mean, I think it was 22 people tonight.
22 people tonight.
It's like starting to feel real.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's not just 8-man brackets at YCS side events.
So what did you play tonight?
I played. I'm just going to attack, but also like a Roid version of it. It's like a beatdown deck, but it feels a lot more explosive, but also more flexible. So I think it is. I think the skill is just really impressive, and I think that Submarine Roid is really impressive, and I think they weirdly do cool things together. And like Steamroid gets really big under this card. It ties Jinzo, which sometimes is really mad. Like 24 is just a really good number to hit. And then like it just is your tiebreaker. Sidra kills Sidra. Drill kills Drill and Banisher. So like it just like makes all your ties better. Sidra can trade with Jirai Gumo. Yeah, so like that's sort of the gist of the deck. So we just kind of get into it, or
sure.
All right. So just kind of going big numbers to little numbers. So for the Roids, I played 3 mix, just because this card is any other card. Typically, it's just Submarine Roids 4, 5, and 6. However, in really stall matchups, Drill Roid starts breaking through, or in one of my rounds tonight, it just tutored into Steam Roid when I already had Cyber Dragon on board, and it's just like there's casually lethal damage. So it's just everything out of nowhere, and then the bit that gets everybody is then the second half, which is pay half, banish names equal to level, and make a big guy, and that's really cool. And I really like my extra deck for that specifically. 3 sub. It's really impressive. Under just going to attack, sort of the recurring bit is the unsure rulings of Wall of D versus this card, but I think we're all playing it correctly now, where it will negate sub if it goes to 0 attack, going off of I guess Vegas rulings on that, which is fine. But I'm just going to attack, brings it up to 900, which is all you need. So that's really big whenever you're being really slow with it, and it's just such a high pressure card that demands a response or you lose typically. So it's really good. My 2 of Roid names are 2 Steam Roid, 2 Drill Roid, just because of what I can imagine you feel is coming later in the list here, but they're just good names. Drill, I think, is one of the really cool card in the deck, in the format. I think this card kind of single-handedly took Rat out of the format. For the most part, and also just kind of makes stall not as good, so that's really cool. And then Steamroid, like I said kind of earlier, it just gets really big and can trade with bosses, and just gets really big. It's 1900 if it hits direct, which, like I said, with Cyber Dragon is lethal, and that came up, so like it just hits good numbers. And then speaking of, one of my 3 ofs is the one Cyber Dragon. Also for what's coming here as well, I need the name, but also Cyber Dragon and Beatdown's really good. I understand why they put it on the list, so that's really cool. Kind of wish Charging Gaia was the thing that paid for that deck's sins, but Cyber Dragon is probably the better card.
It should have been Gaia.
Yeah, could have been both, honestly. Especially with what we're getting soon, I think they could hit a few more cards on Beatdown specifically, but that's neither here nor there. And then the last monsters I played, this was a last minute edition. I played a double copy of Sphere Karibo, just because I fear the mirror, and this is not a trap, and also I know there's at least some number of ancient gears that run around, and sometimes they just put out a guy that's bigger than you, and I need to be able to put it in defense so Drill can kill it. So this card's really good. I'm glad I last minute edition. I think these were numbers 23 and 24 in my deck of 24, so like I think it was a reasonable amount of cards to add without jacking up my consistency too much. I'm on 5 spells, triple offerings, because I think it is the best utility card in the game. That's probably especially true a couple weeks ago, but I still think it's pretty good. It just kind of, it's a battle trap, it's an interrupt, it's a boss killer, and then sometimes the draw phase skip is actually really cool whenever you have a future fusion sitting to that needs to cook, because if you draw into a name, if you already have a name of Steam or Drill or 2 subs or whatever in your hand, and you draw a card that like
matches that
matches
name.
it, like you like sometimes it fails to resolve and then it's just a dead zone, which we can't really afford to do in a 3-card or in a 3-zone format. But also sometimes it does force you to resolve for Chimera Tech with the Cyber Dragon, which is fine because then you can just kind of pivot into like a really like big name play and dump your entire deck for Mixer Roid at that point. And then but you have to kill them that turn. So like sometimes this card feels kind of win more, but it also it's just another pressure card, and that's just kind of ultimately for as many like sort of poke cards as I'm playing with like drill and sub. Pardon me, and sub. It's nice to be able to swing into like a hammer, just because sometimes you just don't really feel like you have a lot of like pressure, and then like also whenever like big drill comes down, like they need to deal with it there or they will die, which is just nice to have those kind of cards. Moving on to traps, I have 6 traps in the lineup. The remainder of my 3 ofs is Double Flood. This card with Submarine Roid is incredibly unfun, but it wins. It does the thing. It puts a card out of commission, and if they can't tribute over it, I will sub them to death. If they can't, it's one less zone for me to have to deal with. And then for my one of, I play a Nightmare Wheel, which I feel sort of is like a quasi third floodgate. So like if you set a card, it's Nightmare Wheeled, and now it's out for the game. Same deal. Like there was a game this night where I had Nightmare Wheel and Double Flood in effect, and it's like one of those like wins you apologize for, and it feels bad to apologize because then it's like, oh well, look, just don't play it. But like it feels bad. Like I've also been double flood and wheeled, or like before it was on the list, triple flooded and wheeled, and like man, it sucks. But you play the tools you have. Riding out the list, I have double Wall of D. I have found that the what's it called? The like the level 3 deck, the Room for Growth deck, can really kind of put you in. There's a just going to attack. Like there's like a more traditional Roid deck. A guy just went to Vegas and apparently did very well. This card, especially now that we know what the correct ruling with Submarine Roid is. Now that we know.
Get out of here! Not your channel.
We got turf war going on. That should probably be cut out. We don't do free advertising. Sure. This is a Buyer's Regret exclusive. And then so Wall of D is just a good trap. It puts guys really low. It takes guys out of commission, which is again sort of in theme with the floodgates and the Nightmare Wheels. It just kind of puts your boys out of commission. Their boys out of commission, and then just to like give me another turn of sub pressure, or like the turn for future fusion to come back around, and then I like run you in with the big drill. So like it's, I think the best battle trap probably could be widespread, but I think Wall is just a little bit better. It's just a little more punishing.
Absolutely.
It's also better against Angel specifically. Is probably the correct answer. And then my final card is just I play a single copy of Dust. At 24 cards, just like a kind of a random one of, feels okay. It came up quite a bit. This was kind of glued to my hand actually tonight. And the matches where it mattered were really cool. And then on the matches where it didn't, I usually lost because I was down a card. Or the games I lost were usually down a card. But it's good. It's just like it hits. Sometimes it's really cool if like they like. I think people are kind of smart to this skill, but like if they like force you to activate it, you can then dust the other one. Like you can dust the unknown. If you like force this down on the like the Wall of D that they play, then you can just like dust their other one before you then attack again. So like it does some cool stuff. Or if you think they're not really setting these kind of cards to save space, you can dust, and it's usually like their floodgate. So it usually hits what it needs to hit. Thankfully, didn't hit any Wakings tonight, but it also can sometimes just hit Wakings, and then that's a whole other problem. For extra deck, definitely suffers from 6-card extra deck syndrome, which is kind of wild that is a problem in Speed Duel. But 2 big drills. Typically, one comes off the Future Fusion, one comes off the Drill Roid later in. He's my level 8. Chimera Tech for the name, just to dump X amount of machines, including Cyber Dragon, out of my graveyard, or into my graveyard, to fire off Drill Roid, or Mixer Roid. Like I said, you do need to win that turn pretty much, or like have the dust for your own. Actually, no, dust only targets your opponent's cards. So you have to win that turn. That thankfully didn't come up, but you do have to win that turn. Otherwise, Chimera Tech, if it hits board, will scrub your board, and you're probably not coming back from that. Necroid Shaman, because this is technically a Roid Fusion monster, and he turned Zoma into a attack position Flame Sprite tonight, so that was pretty cool. He turns problematic cards into usually like the weakest thing in their graveyard. Or like I know last week, I turned against that Roid player. I turned like a scary name into a face-up attack position, Mixer Roid, and I killed him. So that was cool. So like it usually turns their scariest card into their least scariest card. Big Man, he's my level 9 target. He is relinquished. He sucks up a guy on as just like a trigger effect. He can just take a guy. He can attack everybody and inflicts piercing. That doesn't really come up. He goes down to 18 when he attacks, which trades with things more, because then anything summoned off Mixeroid dies in the end phase anyway. But he usually like trades with the board. So like going deep like that, I know that mattered in finals last week because it's it's targeting, but it's non-destruction removal. So I took the XYZ player's like super equipped X. Like he didn't fuse, he just had like the X with like a union and like sort of poison. So I summoned him, took it, poked for 18, and then like he like top deck trash, and I took it then the next turn. So that was really cool. And then my final slot is I do play a Waking target in Ojama King, because if you blind Night Beam my set Waking on turn, I guess 2, and I can hit this before you can commit to the board, I imagine I'll eventually just win with like Submarine Roid and that junk. It's in the same spirit of supremely unfun, but it's if I had a single slot for Waking, I guess it's that one, or it could have been Restrict, but I think Ojama King just kind of does the job a little bit better. Side deck, one Banisher, just because he's like a cool flex spot. He's a good summon turn 1 if they force you to go first. The one Waking, the one Mind Crush, and triple Lost Wind. I primarily wanted to hate Angel because I think that was going to be the scariest deck, and I played 2 of them tonight, and it was definitely a very scary matchup. So this card puts in a lot of work, and also I just like that this card's now seeing its due. I think it's a really cool card that we have in the format. So it's just night. Cyber Dragons, Zomas, Lost Winning Zoma, and this is really funny. It'll still like trigger engrave, but like it's like extra punishing if you can take. If you can like take the damage from Zoma hitting, like it's really punishing if they attack in with it. And like I said, with like Cyber Dragon and stuff, or anything off Mixeroid, it negates. So like I've negated Submarine Roid with this, like after they've summoned it in attack mode, which is really, really strong. And then in some matches, it floats back and it's just really good. So yeah, that's my list.
Any shout outs you'd like to give before we wrap this up?
Yeah, we can wrap this up. But just the locals. I mean, I don't know. It's awesome that we had 22 people tonight. I love this format. I was like a late on the bandwagon, like in Dragon Caller format. Like I was like right at the tail end of like the first meta, and I've been sort of following along with it ever since. It's a lot of fun. We got 2 great guys doing YouTube content. We got you, and then we have another one who we're not going to do free advertising for. So we have some content creators in the area, which is cool. Makes us feel official. When I went out to Chicago, like people knew like names of like local people, which I think is neat. We just had some boys out in Vegas that I took like the 1-3v3. Awesome. I don't quite remember all of their names. I know one of them was Colin. So. But like the other guys, all of them, they're good. Everybody, it's just fun. I look forward to this every week. This is probably my favorite night of the week for this. So
absolutely,
that's it.
Thanks so much for the profile, man.
No, thank you.